Chapter 5. The rich invent money. Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead but the bold. Last night, I took a break from writing and watched a TV program on the history of a young man named Alexander Graham Bell. Graham Bell. Bell had just patented his telephone and was growing pains because the demand for this new invention was so strong. Needing a bigger company, he then went to the giant at that time, Western Union, and asked them if they would buy his patent and his tiny company. He wanted $1.1 $1.1 million for the whole package. The president of Western Uniform Union scoffed at him and turned him down, saying the price was ridiculous. The rest is history. A multi-billion-dollar industry emerged, and AT&T was born. The evening news came on right after the story of Alexander Graham Bell. On the news was a story of another downsizing at a local company. The workers were angry and complained that the company ownership was unfair. A terminated manager of about 45 years of age had his wife and two babies at the plant and was begging the guards to let him talk to the owners to ask if they would reconsider his termination. He had just bought a house and was afraid of losing it. The camera focused on his pleading for all the world to see. Needless to say, it held my attention. I have been teaching professionally since 1984. It has been a great experience and a rewarding one. It is also a distributing profession for I thought thousands of individuals, and I see one thing in common in all of us. Myself included, we all have tremendous potential and we all are blessed with gifts. Yet the one thing that holds all of us back is some degree of self-doubt. It is not so much the lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self-confidence. Some are more affected than others. Once we leave school, most of us know that it is not too much a matter of college degrees or good grades that count. Once we leave school, most of us know that it is not so much a matter of college degree or good grade that counts. In the real world outside of academics, something more than just grades is required. I have heard it called many things: guts, truth, chut jab, balls, audacity, bravado, cunning, daring, tenacity, and brilliance. This factor, whatever is it is labeled, ultimately decides one's future much more than school grades do. Inside each of us is one of these brave, brilliant, and daring character. There is also the flip side of that character, people who could get down on their knees and beg if necessary. After a year in Vietnam as a Marine Corps pilot, I got to know both of those characters inside of me intimately. One is not better than the other. Yet, as a teacher, I recognized that it was excessive fear and self doubt that were the greatest detractors of personal genius. It broke my heart to see students know the answer yet lack the courage to act on the answer. Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. In my personal experience, your financial genius requires both technical knowledge as well as courage. If fear is too strong, the genius is suppressed. In my classes, I strongly urge students to learn to take risk, to behold, and let their genius convert that fear into power and brilliance. It works for some and just terrifies others. I have come to realize that for most people, when it comes to the subject of money, they would rather play it safe. I have had to field questions such as why take a risk? Why should I bother developing my financial IQ? Why should I become financially literate? And I answer just to have more options. There are huge changes ahead. In the coming year, there will be more people just like the young inventor Alexander Graham Bell. There will be 100 people like Bill Gates and hugely successful companies like Microsoft created every year all over the world, and there will also will be many more bankruptcies, layoffs, and downsizings. So why bother developing your financial IQ? No one can answer that but you. Yet I can tell you why I myself do it. I do it because it is the most exciting time to be alive. Timeless rich dad wisdom opportunity. The list of entrepreneurial success stories continues to grow and names like Jobs, Zuckerberg, Bezos, Musk, Branson, Gates and Brin are recognized around the world. Hot startups like Coinbase are the rage fueled by technology in the land of opportunity and a global economy. I had rather be welcoming change than drilling change. I had rather be excited about the making millions than worrying about not getting a raise. This period we are in now in is a most exciting time, unprecedented in our world's history. Generation from now, people will look back at this period of time and remark at what an exciting era it must have been. It was the death of the old and birth of the new. It was full of turmoil and it was exciting. So, why bother developing your financial IQ? Because if you do, you will prosper greatly, and if you don't, this period of time will be a frightening one. It will be a time of watching some people move boldly forward while others cling to worn out life preserves. Land was wealth 300 years ago. So the person who owned the land owned the wealth. Later, wealth was in factories and productions. America rose to dominance. The industrialist owned the wealth. Today, wealth is in information, and the person who has the most timely information owns the wealth. The problem is that information flies around the world at the speed of light. The new wealth cannot be contained by boundaries and borders as land and factories were. The changes will be faster and more dynamic. There will be a dramatic increase in the number of new multimillionaires. There will also be those who are left behind. I find so many people struggling today, often working harder simply because they cling to old ideas. They want things to be the way they were and they resist change. I know people who are losing their jobs or their houses and they blame technology or the economy or their boss. Sadly, they fail to recognize they might be the problem. Old ideas are their biggest liability. It's a liability because they fail to realize that while that idea or way of doing something was an asset yesterday is gone. One afternoon, I was teaching how to invest using a board game I had invented, cash flow, as a technique tool, teaching tool. Sorry, I found a friend had brought someone along to attend the class. This friend of a friend was recently divorced, had been burned in the divorce settlement, and was now searching for some answers. Her friend thought the class might help. The game was designed to help people learn how money works. In playing the game, they learn about the interaction of the income statement with the balance sheet. If they learn how cash flow between the two and how the road to wealth is through striving to increase your monthly cash flow from the asset column to the point that it exceeds your monthly expenses. Once you accomplish this, you are able to get out of the rat race and out onto the fast track. You can play cash flow on the web at www.richdad.com and learn how money works. As I have said, some people hate the game, some love it, and others miss the point. Though this woman missed a valuable opportunity to learn something. In the opening round, she drew a do that card with the board on it. At first, she was happy, oh, I have got a board. Then, as her friend tried to explain how the numbers worked on her income statement and balance sheet, she got frustrated because she had never liked math. The rest of her table waited while her friend continued explaining the relationship between the income statement, balance sheet, and monthly cash flow. Suddenly, when she realized how the numbers worked, it dawned on her that her boat was eating her alive. Later on in the game, she was also downside and had a child. It was a horrible game for her. After the class, her friend came by and told me that she was upset. She had came to the class to learn about investing and did not like the idea that it took so long to play a silly game. Her friend attempted to tell her to look within herself to see if the game reflected her in any way. With any suggestion, the woman demanded for her money back. She said that the very idea that a game could be a reflection of her was ridiculous. Her money was promptly refunded and she left. Since 1984, I have made millions simply by doing what the school system does not do. In school, most teacher lecture. I hated lecture as a student. I was soon bored and my mind would drift. In 1984, I began teaching via games and simulations, and I still rely on these tools today. I always encourage adult students to look at game as reflecting back to them what they know and what they need to learn. Most importantly, games reflect behavior. They are instant feedback system. Instead of teacher lecturing you, the game is giving you a personalized lecture, one that is custom made just for you. The friend of woman who left later called to give me an update. She said her friend was fine and had calmed down. In her cooling off period, she could see some slight relationship between the game and her life. Although she and her husband did not own a boat, they did own everything else imaginable. Games reflect behavior, they are instant feedback system. She was angry after their divorce, but both because he had run off with a younger woman and because after 20 years of marriage they had accumulated little in the way of assets. There was virtually nothing for them to split. Their 20 years of married life had been incredible fun, but all they had accumulated was a ton of doodads. She realized that her anger at doing the numbers, the income statement, and the balance sheet came from her embarrassment about not understanding them. She had believed that finances were the man's job. She maintained the house and did the entertainment, and he handled the finances. She was now quite certain that in last 5 years of their marriage, he had hidden money from her. She was angry at herself for not being more aware of where the money was going, as well as for not knowing about the other woman. Just like a board game, the world is always providing us with instant feedback. We could learn a lot if we tuned in more. One day, not long ago, I complained to Kim that the cleaners must have shrunk my pants. Kim gently smiled and poked in the stomach to inform me that the pants had not shrunk, something else had happened me. The cash flow game was designed to give every player personal feedback. Its purpose is to give you options. If you draw the bot card and it puts you into debt, the question is now what can you do? How many different financial options can you come up with? That is the purpose of the game, to teach players to think and create new and various financial options. Thousands of people throughout the world have played the game. The players who get out of the rat race the quickest are the people who understand numbers and have creating financial minds. They recognize different financial options. Rich people are often creative and take calculated risk. People who take the longest are people who are not familiar with number and often do not understand the power of investing. Play cash flow on richdad.com website. What did you learn about your true behavior from playing the game? Some people playing cash flow accumulate lots of money in the game, but they don't know what to do with it. Even though they have money, everyone else seems to be getting ahead of them, and that is true in real life. There are a lot of people who have a lot of money and do not get ahead financially. Limiting your options is the same as hanging on to old ideas. I have a friend from high school who now works at three jobs. A year ago, he was the richest of all my classmates. When the local sugar plantation closed, the company he worked for went down with the plantation. In his mind, he had but one option, and that was the old option: work hard. The problem was that he couldn't find an equivalent job that recognized his seniority from the old company. As a result, he is overqualified for the jobs he currently has, so his salary is lower. He now works three jobs to earn enough to survive. I have watched people playing cash flow complain that the right opportunity cards are not coming their way. So they sit there. I knew people who do that in real life. They wait for the right opportunity. I have watched people get the right opportunity card and then have not enough money. Then they complain that they would have gotten out of the rat race if they had more money, so they sit there. I know people in real life who do that also. They see all the great deals, but they have no money. And I have seen people pull a great opportunity card, read it out loud, and have no idea that it is a great opportunity. They have the money, the time is right. They have the card, but they can't see the opportunity starting them in the face. They fail to see how it fits into their financial plan for escaping the rat race. And I know more people like that than all the others combined. Most people have an opportunity of a lifetime flash right in front of them and they fail to see it. A year later, they find out about it. After everyone else got rich, financial intelligence is simply having more options if the opportunities are not coming your way. What else can you do to improve your financial position if an opportunity lands in your lap and you have no money and the bank won't talk to you? What else can you do to get the opportunity to work in your favor if your hunch is wrong and what you have been counting on doesn't happen? How can you turn a lemon into millions? This is financial intelligence. It is not so much that what happens, but how many different financial solutions you can think of to turn a lemon into millions. It's how creative you are in solving financial problems. Most people only know one solution: work hard, save, and borrow. So, why would you want to increase your financial intelligence? Because you want to be the kind. Because you want to be the kind of person who creates your own luck. You take whatever happens and make it better. Few people realize that luck is created just as money is. And if you want to be luckier and create money instead of working hard, then your financial intelligence is important. If you are the kind of person who is waiting for the right thing to happen, you might wait for a long time. It's like waiting for all the traffic lights to be green for 5 miles before you will start your trip. Hmm. As young boys, Mike and I were constantly told by my rich dad that money is not real. Rich dad occasionally reminded us of how close we come to the secret of money. On that first day, we got together and began making money out of POP. The poor and the middle class work for money. He would say, the rich make money. The more real you think money is, the harder you will work for it. If you can grasp the idea that money is not real, you will grow richer faster. What is it? Was a question Mike and I often came back with. What is money if it is not real? What we agree it is was all rich dad would say. The single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth seemingly instantly. An untrained mind can also create extreme poverty that can crush a fine family for generations. In the information age, money is increasing exponentially. A few individuals are getting ridiculous rich for nothing from nothing, just ideas and agreement. If you ask many people who trade stocks or other investments for a living, they see it done all the time. Often millions can be made instantaneously from nothing and by nothing. I mean, no money was exchanged. It is done via agreement. A hand signal in a trading pit and a blip on a trader's screen is Lisbon, from a trader's screen in Toronto and back to Lisbon, and a call to my broker to buy and a moment later to sell. Money did not change hands, agreement did. The single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth. So why develop your financial genius? Only you can answer that. I can tell you why I have developing this area of my intelligence. I do it because I want to make money fast, not because I need to, but because I want to. It is a fascinating learning process. I develop my financial IQ because I want to participate in the fastest game and biggest game in the world and in my own small way. I would like to be the part of this unprecedented evolution of humanity, the era where humans work purely with their minds and not with their bodies. Beside, it is where the action is, it is what is happening, it's hip, it's scary, and it's fun. That is why I invest in my financial intelligence, developing the most powerful asset I have. I want to be with people moving boldly forward. I do not want to be with those left behind. I will give you a I will give you a simple example of creating money. In the early 1990s, the economy of Phoenix, Arizona was horrible. I was watching a TV show when a financial planner come on and began forecasting doom and gloom. His advice was to save money, put $100 away every month, he said. In 40 years, you will be a multimillionaire. Well, putting money away every month is a sound idea. It is one option, the option most people subscribe to. The problem is this, it blinds the person to what is really going on. It causes them to miss major opportunities for much more significant growth of their money. The world is passing them by. $100 दिन का सेव करना है, महीने का सेव करना है. ओके. Why savers are still losers. In 1970s, we could save our way to retirement. Passbook saving account earned double digit interest and saving account could actually grow our wealth. Those days are long gone. Enter NIR, negative interest rates or interest rates below zero. Today, many banks are charging savers to hold their money, and savers truly are losers. As I said, the economy was terrible at this time for investors. This is the perfect market condition. A chunk of my money was in the stock market and in the apartment houses. I was short of cash because people were giving properties away. I was buying. I was not saving money. I was investing. Kim and I had more than $1 million in cash, working in a market that was rising fast. It was the best opportunity to invest. The economy was terrible. I just could not pass up these small deals. Houses that were once $0.1 million were now $75,000. But instead of shopping with the local real estate agent, I began shopping at the bankruptcy attorney office or the court step in these shopping places. A place $75,000 could sometimes be bought at for $20,000 or less. For 2000, which was loaned to me from a friend for 90 days for 200 rupees, I gave an attorney a cashier bag check as a down payment. While the acquisition was being processed, I ran an ad advertising $75,000 for only $60,000 and no money down. The phone rang hard and heavy. Prospective buyers were screened, and once the property was legally mine, all the prospective buyers were allowed to look at the house. It was a fleeting fancy. The house sold in a few minutes. I asked for a $2,500 processing fee, which they gladly gladly handed over, and the escrow and title company took over from there. I returned the $2,000 to my friend with an additional of $200. He was happy, the home buyer was happy, the attorney was happy, and I was happy. I had sold a house for $60,000 that cost me $20,000. The $40,000 was created from money in my asset column in the form of a promissory note from the buyer. Total working time 5 hours. So now that you are on your way to becoming more financially literate and skilled at reading numbers, I will show you why this is an example of money being invented. $40,000 is created in the asset column. Money is invented without being taxed at 40%, at 10% tax interest. 4,000 a year in your cash flow is added to income. $40,000 note, asset liability $20,000 mortgage, expenses taxes mortgage, बट इसका जो $4,000 होगा वो सीधा इनकम में जाएगा. During this depressed market, Kim and I were able to do 6 of these simply transactions in our spare time. While the bulk of our money was in larger properties and the stock market, we were able to create more than 1.9 million $0.19 million in assets. Not that notes at 10% interest in those 6 buy, create, and sell transaction. Buy, create, and sell. That comes to approximately $19,000 a year in income. Buy, create, or sell. Buy, create, sell. Much of it sheltered through our private corporation. Much of that $19,000 a year goes to pay for our company cars, gas, travel insurance, dinners with clients, and other things. By the time the government gets a chance to tax that income, it's been spent on legally allowed pre-tax expenses. How much income would you have to earn if the government takes 50% in taxes? How long would it take you to save $40,000? Oh, $40,000. Job, salary, expenses, savings account. This was a simple example of how money is invented, created, and protected using financial intelligence. Ask yourself, how long would it take to save $19,000? Would the bank pay you 10% interest on your money and the promissory note is good for 30 years? I hope they never pay me the 1.19 million dollar I have to pay a tax if they pay me the principal. And besides, dollar 19,000 paid over 30 years is a little over $0.5 million in income. I have people sorry. I have people ask what happens if the person doesn't pay. That does happen, and it's a good news. That $60,000 home could be taken back and resold for $70,000 and another $2,500 collected as a loan processing fee. It would still be a zero down transaction in the mind of a new buyer, and the process would go on. The first time I sold the house, I paid back $2,000, so technically I have no money in the transaction. My return of investment is infinite. It's an example of no money making a lot of money. In the second transaction, when we sold, I have put $2,000 in my pocket and re extended the loan to 30 years. What would be if I paid to make money? I do not know, but it sure beats $100 a month, which actually starts out as a $150 because it's after tax income for 40 years earned low interest, and again you are taxed on the interest. This is not too intelligent. It may be safe, but it's not smart. A few years later, as the Phoenix real estate market strengthened, those houses we sold for $60,000 became worth point $1.11 million. Foreclosure opportunities were still available but become rare. It cost a valuable asset my time to go out looking for them. Thousands of buyers were looking for the few available deals. The market had changed. It was time to move on and look for other opportunities to put in the asset column. You can't do that here. This is against the law. Crashes. There have been three major crashes in the past 30 years. The first was the crash of 89 to 90 of 1900 when real estate became cheaper than ever. The second was in 2001 to 2002 when the dot com bubble burst, and the third is in 2008 to 2009 when the housing bubble burst. Each of these was an opportunity to invent money. You are lying. I hear these comments much more often than. Can you show me how to do that? The math is simple. You do not need algebra or calculation. The escrow company handles the legal transaction and the servicing of the payments. I have no roofs to fix or toilets to unplug because the owners do that. It's their house. Occasionally, someone does not pay, and that is wonderful because there are late fees or they move out and the property is sold again. The court system handles that, and it may not work in your area. The market condition may be different, but the example illustrates how a simple financial process can create hundreds of thousands of dollars with little money and low risk. It is an example of money buying being only an agreement. Anyone with a high school education can do it. Yet most people listen to the standard advice of work hard and save money. For about 30 hours of work, approximately $0.19 million was created in the asset column, or 190k dollar, and no taxes were paid. Which one sounds harder to you? Work hard and pay 50% in taxes, save what is left. You are saving, then earn 5%, which is also taxed. Take the time to develop your financial intelligence, harness the power of your brain and the asset column. कितना बड़ा चैप्टर है, fucking hell. It's more than 10 pages still. It's more than 20 pages still. If you use option number 1, the PQ, to factor in how much time it takes you to save 190k dollar. Time is one of your greatest assets. Now you may understand why I silently shake my head when I hear parents say my child is doing well in school and receiving a good education. It may be good, but it is adequate. I know the above investment strategy is a small one. It is used to illustrate how small can grow into big. Again, my success reflects the importance of a strong financial foundation, which starts with a strong financial education. 20 years ago today, those were the days. Earning 5% on a saving account, those were the days. A lot has changed over 20 years, and today, much of what used to be sound advice had become old, obsolete advice like milk that's been arounding too long. The advice to save money is long past its expiration date. I have said it before, but it's worth repeating. Financial intelligence is made up of these four main technical skills. Accounting Accounting is financial literacy, or the ability to read numbers. This is a vital skill if you want to build business or investment. Investing is the science of money making money. Understanding market is the science of supply and demand. Alexander Graham Bell gave the market what is wanted. So did Bill Gates. If a $75,000 house offered for $60,000 that cost $20,000 was also the result of seizing an opportunity created by the market. Somebody was buying and somebody was selling. The market, sorry, the law. The law is the variance of accounting, corporate, state, and federal regulation. I recommended playing by the rules. It is this basic foundation or the combination of these skills that is needed to successful in the pursuit of wealth, whether it is be through the buying of small homes, apartment building companies, stocks, bonds, precious metals, baseball cards, or the like. A few years later, the real estate market rebounded and everyone else was getting in. The stock market was booming and everyone was getting in. The US economy was getting back on its feet. I began selling and was now traveled to Peru, Norway, Malaysia, and the Philippines. The investment landscape had changed. We were no longer buying real estate. Now I just watched the value climb inside the asset column and will probably selling again. I suspect that some of those six little house deals will sell and the $40,000 note will be converted to cash. I need to call my accountant to be prepared for cash and seek ways to shelter it. The point I would like to make is that investment come and go. The market goes up and comes down. Economies improve and crash. The world is always handling you opportunity of a lifetime every day of your life, but all too often we fail to see them. But they are there, and the more the world changes and the more technology changes, the more opportunities will be to allow you and your family to be financially secure for generations to come. So why bother developing your financial intelligence? Again, only you can answer that. I know why I continue to learn and develop. I do it because I know there are changes coming. I had rather welcome change that cling to the past. I know there will be market booms and market crashes. I want to continually develop my financial intelligence because at each market change, some people will be on their knees begging for their jobs. Others, meanwhile, will take the lemons that life hands them, and we are all handed lemons occasionally and turn them into millions. That's financial intelligence. I am often asked about the lemons I have turned into millions. I hesitate using many more examples of personal investment because I am afraid of it. I am afraid it comes across as bragging or tooting my own horn. That is not my intention. I use the examples only as numerical and chronological illustrations of actual and simple cases. I use the examples because I want you to know that it is easy, and more familiar you become with the four pillars of financial intelligence, the easier it becomes. Personally, I use two main vehicles to achieve financial growth: real estate and small cap stocks. I use real estate as my foundation day in and day out. My properties provide cash flow and occasionally spurs the growth in value. The small cap stocks are used for fast growth. I do not recommend anything that I do. The examples are just that examples. If the opportunity is too complex and I do not understand the investment, I don't do it. Simply math and common sense are all you need to do well financially. There are five reasons for using examples. I inspire people to learn more, to let people know it is easy if the foundation is strong, to show that anyone can achieve great wealth, to show that there are millions of ways to achieve your goal, to show that it's not rocket science. In 1989, I used to jog through a lovely neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. It was a suburb that had little gingerbread houses. They were small and cute. I almost expected to see Little Red Riding Hood skipping down the sidewalk on her way to Granny's. There were for sale signs everywhere. The timber market was terrible. The stock market had just crashed and the economy was depressed. On one street, I noticed a for sale sign that was up longer than most. I looked old. It looked old. Jogging past it one day, I ran into the owner who looked troubled. What was you asking for your house? I asked. The owner turned and smiled weakly. Make me an offer, he said. It's been for sale for over a year. Nobody even comes by anymore to look at it. I will look. I said I bought the house a half hour later for $20,000 less than his asking price. It was a cute little two-bedroom home with gingerbread trim on all the windows. It was light blue with grey accents and had built in 1930. Inside there was a beautiful rock fireplace as well as two tiny bedrooms. It was a perfect rental house. We gave the owner $5,000 down for $40,000 house that was really worth $65,000. Except that no one wanted to buy it. The owner moved out in a week, happy to be free, and my first tenant moved in, a local college professor. After the mortgage expenses and management fees were paid, we put a little less than $40 in my pocket at the end of each month. Hardly exciting. A year later, the depressed Oregon real estate market had begun to pick up. California investors, flush with money from their still booming real estate market, were moving north and buying up Oregon and Washington. We sold that little house for $95,000 to a young couple from California who thought it was a bargain. Our capital bargain of approximately $40,000 were placed into a 1030 tax deferred exchange, and I went shopping for a place to put my money. In about a month, we found a 12-unit apartment house right next to the intent plant in Oregon. Oregon. The owner lived in Germany, had no idea what the place was worth, and again, just was to get out of it. I offered 275k dollar for a 450k building. They agreed to 300k dollar. I bought it and held it for 2 years, utilizing the same 1030 exchange process. We sold the building for 495k and bought a 30 unit apartment building in Phoenix, Arizona. Kim and I moved to Phoenix by then to get out of the rain and needed to sell anyway. Let the former Oregon market, the real estate market in Phoenix was depressed. The price of 30 unit apartment building in Phoenix was 875k dollar was with 225k dollar down. The cash flow from the 30 units was a little over $5,000 a month. The Arizona market began moving up, and a few years later, a Colorado investor offered us 1.2 million for the property. The point of this example is how a small amount can grow into a large amount. Again, it is a matter of understanding financial statement, investment strategy, and essence of market and the laws. The point of this example is how a small amount can grow into larger amount. If people are not versed in these subjects, then obviously they must follow standard dogma, which is to play it safe, diversify, and only invest in secure investment. The problem with secure investment is that they are often sanitized, that is made so safe that gains are less. Most large brokerage houses will not touch speculative transaction in order to protect themselves and their clients, and that is a wise policy. The really hot deals are not offered to people who are novice. Often the best deals that make the rich even richer are reserved for those who understand the game. It is technically illegal to offer speculative deals to someone who is considered not sophisticated, but of course it happens. The more sophisticated I get, the more opportunities come my way. Another way for developing your financial intelligence over a lifetime is simply that more opportunities are presented to you, and the greater your financial intelligence, the easier it is to tell whether a deal is good. It's your intelligence that can spot a bad deal or make a bad deal good. The more we learn there, and there is a lot to learn, the more money we make simply because we gain experience and wisdom. As the years go on, we have friends who are playing it safe, working hard at their profession, and failing to gain financial wisdom, which does take time to develop. Our overall philosophy is to plant seeds inside my asset column. That is my formula. Start we start small and plant seeds. Some grow, some don't. Inside our real estate corporation, we have property worth several $1 million. It is our own real estate investment trust. The point I am making is that most of those millions started out as little $5,000 or $10,000 investment. All of those down payments were fortunate to catch a fast rising market and increase tax free. We traded in and out several times over a number of years. We also own a stock portfolio surrounding by a corporation that Kim and I call our personal mutual fund. We have friends who deal specifically with investors like us who have extra money each month to invest. We buy big risk speculative private companies that are just about to go public on a stock exchange in the US or Canada. An example of how fast gains can be made is 100k. 100k shares for 25 cents each before the company goes public. 6 months later the company is listed and the thousands 100k dollar now are worth dollar 2 each. 8 times. If the company is well managed, the price keeps going up and the stock maybe go to $20 or more per share. There are years when our $25,000 has gone to a million in less than a year. It is not gambling if you know what you are doing. It's gambling if you are just throwing money into a deal and praying. The idea is nothing in anything is to use your technical knowledge, wisdom, and love of the game to cut the odds down. To lower the risk, of course, there is also always risk. It is financial intelligence that it is financial intelligence that improves the odd. Thus, what is risky for a person who is less risky to someone else. That is the primary reason I constantly encourage people to invest more in their financial education than in stocks, real estate, or more other markets. The smarter you are, the better chance you have to beating the odds. The stock plays I personally invested in were extremely high risk for most people and absolutely not recommended. I have been playing that game since 1979 and we had We have paid more than my share in dues, but if you will reread why investments such as these are high risk for most people, you may be able to set your life up definitely differently, so that the ability to take $25,000 and turn it into $1 million in a year is low risk for you. As started earlier, nothing I have written is a recommendation. It is only used as an example of what is simple and possible. What I do is small potatoes in the grand scheme of things, yet for the average individual, a passive income of more than 100k dollar a year is nice and not hard to achieve. Depending on the market and how smart you are, it could be done in 5 to 10 years. If you keep your living expenses modest, 100k dollar coming is an in an additional income is pleasant. Regardless of whether you work, you can work if you like or take time off if you choose, and use the government tax system in your favor rather than against you. It is not gambling if you know what you are doing. It is gambling if you are just throwing money into a deal and free. My personal basis is real estate. I love real estate because it's stable and slow moving. I keep the base solid. The cash flow is fairly steady, and if properly managed, has a good chance of increasing in value. The beauty of a solid base of real estate is that it allows me to take greater risk, or I do as I do with speculative stocks. If I make great profits in the stock market, I pay my capital gains tax on the gain and then reinvest what's left in real estate, again further securing my asset foundation. Last word on real estate: I have traveled all over the world and taught investing in every city. I hear people say you cannot buy real estate cheap. That is not my experience. Even in New York or Tokyo, or just on the outskirts of the city, prime bargains are overlooked by most people. In Singapore, with their real estate prices, there are still bargains to be found within a short driving distance. So whenever I hear someone say you can't do that, pointing at me, I reminded them that maybe the real statement is I don't know how to do that here. Yet greater opportunities are not seen with your eyes; they are seen with your mind. Most people never get wealthy simply because they are not trained financially to recognize opportunity right in front of them. I am often asked, how do I start? In the final chapter of this book, I offer 10 steps in that I followed on the road to my financial freedom, but always remember to have fun. When you learn the rules and the vocabulary of investing and begin to build your assets column, I think you will find that it's fun a game as you are ever played. Sometimes you win and sometimes you learn, but have fun. Most people never win because they are most afraid of losing. That is why I found school so silly. In school, we learn that mistakes are bad and we are punished for making them. Yet, if you look at the way humans are designed to learn, we learn by making mistakes. We learn to walk by falling down. If we never fell down, we would never walk. The same is true for learning to ride a bike. I still have scars on my knees, but today I can ride a bike without thinking. The same is true for getting rich. Unfortunately, the main reason most people are not rich is because they are terrified of losing. Winners are not afraid of losing, but losers are. Failure is a part of process of success. People who avoid failure also avoid success. I took at money much like my game of tennis. I play hard, make mistake correct, make more mistake correct, and get better. If I lose the game, I reach across the net, shake my opponent's hand, smile, and say, "See you next Saturday." There are two kinds of investors. The first and most common type is a person who buys a packaged investment. They call a retail outlet such as a real estate company, stockbroker, or a financial planner, and they buy something. It could be a mutual fund, a REIT, a stock, or a bond. It is clean, simply way to investing. An analogy would be a shopper who goes to a computer store and buy a computer right off the shelf. The second type is an investor who creates investment. This investor usually assembles a deal in the way a person who buys components builds a computer. I do not know the first thing about putting components of a computer together, but I do know how to put pieces of opportunities together, or know how people who know how. It is the second type of investor who is the more professional investor. Sometimes it may take years for all the pieces to come together, and sometimes they never do. It's this second type of investor that my rich dad encouraged me to be. It is important to learn how to put pieces together, because that is why the huge wins reside, and sometimes use losses if the tide goes against you. If you want to be the second type of investor, you need to develop three main skills. Find an opportunity that everyone else missed, raise money, and the third one is organize smart people. Find an opportunity that everyone else missed. You see with your mind what others miss with their eyes. For example, a friend brought his rundown old house. It was spooky at look at. Everyone wondered why he bought it. What he saw that we did not was that the house come with four extra empty lots. He discovered that after going to the title company, after buying the house, he tore the house down and sold the five lots to a builder for three times what he paid for the entire package. He made $75,000 for 2 months of work. It's not a lot of money, but it sure beats minimum wage, and it's not technically difficult. Raise money. The average person only goes to the bank. This second type of investor needs to know how to raise capital, and there are many ways that don't require a bank. To get started, I learned how to buy houses without a bank. It was the learned skill of raising money more than houses themselves that was priceless. All too often I hear people say, the bank won't lend me money, or I don't have the money to buy it. If you want to be a type 2 investor, you need to learn how to do that, which stops most people. In other words, a majority of people let their lack of money stop them from making a deal. If you can avoid that obstacle, you will be millions ahead of those who can't learn those skills. There have been many times I have bought a house, a stock, or an apartment building without a penny in the bank. I once bought an apartment house for $1.2 million. I did what is called tying it up with the written contract between seller and buyer. I then raised the $100K deposit, which bought me 90 days to raise the rest of money. Why did I do that? Do it simply because I knew it was worth $2 million. I never raised the money. Instead, the person who put the $100K gave me 50,000 K for finding the deal, took over my position, and I walked away. Total working time 3 days. Again, it's what you know more than what you buy. Investing is not buying. It's more a case of knowing. Organize smart people. Intelligent people are those who work with or hire a person who is more intelligent than they are. When you need advice, make sure you choose your advisor wisely. There is a lot to learn, but the rewards can be astronomical. If you do not want to learn those skills, then being a type 1 investor is highly recommended. It is what you know that is your greatest wealth. It is what you do not know that is your greatest risk. There is always risk, so learn manage risk instead of avoiding it. Study session. Think the rich invent money. Study session, chapter 5. Chapter 5, Lesson 5. The rich invent money. Robert gives two contrasting examples. First, the story of Alexander Graham Bell being overwhelmed by demand for his product and trying to sell his company to Western Union for 100 k dollar. Western Union didn't see the opportunity and turned him down, and a multi-million billion dollar industry emerged. The second example is the TV news reporting on the downsizing of at a local company, and one terminated manager begging in front of the cameras to get his job back. He had just bought a house and was terrified to lose it. Fear and self doubt are in all of us. Robert has been teaching professionally since 1984 and has seen it in thousands of individuals and in himself. We all have tremendous potential and we all have self doubt. Courage can make the difference in leading a successful life. Robert said that as a teacher, it broke his heart to see students who knew the answer but were afraid to act on them. Financial genius requires technical knowledge as well as courage. Take risk, be bold, let your genius convert that fear into power and brilliance. Advice that will terrify some because so many play it safe when it comes to their money. There are many changes ahead in our world, and developing your financial IQ allows you to see that future of change through the lens of excitement, not dread. You will see the opportunity to and act on them as opposed to those who allow their fear to keep them on the sideline, watching others move boldly forward. Land was wealth 300 years ago. Later, wealth was in factories and production. Today, wealth is in information, but information flies around the world at the speed of light and changes with the faster will be faster and more dramatic. There will be a dramatic increase in the number of new multimillionaires. There will be those who are left behind. Some cling to old ideas, and when they struggle, blame technology or the economy. What they fail to see is that old ideas are the biggest liability. An idea or way of doing something that may have been an asset yesterday isn't today. Robert gives an example of a woman who came to a class he was teaching using a board game he had invented, cash flow. The game teaches how people work money, how money work, and about the interaction of the income statement with the balance sheet. Some people love the game, some hate it, and others miss the point. The woman in his example struggled to see that things she would normally think as an asset, such as a boat, negatively affect her cash flow. She pulled a number of challenging cards and had a terrible game. In the end, she was angry and demanded a refund, refusing to see how the game reflected her. Games are a powerful way to teach as they reflect behavior and are instant feedback system. Later, Robert got an update on the upset woman. She had calmed down and started being a slight relationship between the game and her life, a life in which she had never paid attention to her and her ex-husband's finance and had been burned because of it. The purpose of cash flow game is to teach players to think and create new and various financial options. Some did this easily, others struggle. Those who have creative financial minds escape the rat race the fastest. Some playing the game have lots of money but don't know what to do with it. That's true in life as well. Some playing the game complain that the right cards are not coming their way and just sit there. Some get a great opportunity card but don't have the money to act on it, and others have the money and get a great card but don't see it for the opportunity. It is all of these behavioral happen in real life too. Financial intelligence is simply having more options, figuring out ways to create opportunities or altering situations to work in your favor. Luck is created, so go create yours. Money, which isn't real by the way, but just what we agree it is. It's our greatest asset. Our mind is train it well. Millions can be made from nothing more than ideas and agreements. Putting money away each month is a sound idea, but it can blind you to what is really going on and cause you to miss opportunities for much significant growth. In the early 1990s, the economy in Phoenix was terrible. Robert and Kim capitalized on that investing in real estate. He gave an example of buying a home worth $75,000 for $25,000 using $2,000 as a down payment that a friend had loaned him for $200. While the purchase was being processed, he ran an ad advertising a $75,000 house for only $60,000 and no money down. As soon as the house was legally his, He sold it in minutes. Everyone was happy, and the $40,000 was credited from money in Robert's asset column in the form of a promissory note from the buyer at 10% interest. $4,000 a year in cash flow is added to income. Total working time 5 hours. And if the buyer eventually can't pay, they will simply take the house back and resell it. The math still beats saving after tax money each month. It's legally the escrow company handles the servicing of the payments, and Robert Kim don't have to deal with fixing roofs or toilets because the buyer owns the house. A few years back, the Phoenix market strengthened, and it wasn't worth their time or to ferret out the deal, so they moved on. Market conditions may be different where you are, so the strategy may not work for you, because the example illustrates how a simple financial process can create hundreds of thousands of dollars with little money and low risk. It is an example of money being only an agreement. Would you rather work hard, pay taxes, and save from what's left with an growth also being taxed, or take the time to develop your financial intelligence? Markets go up and down, and investment come and go. The world is always handing you opportunities of a lifetime. You simply need to be able to see them. Robert shares another example of buying a house for $45,000 in a depressed market in Portland, Oregon, and renting it out for very little profit. But a year later, the market pricked up and he sold it for $95,000, reinvesting the capital gains into a 12 unit, $300K apartment house in Bayer, Oregon. 2 years later, that was sold, and the profit put into a 30 unit, $875K apartment building in Phoenix. A few years later, an investor offered 1.2 million for the property. It is an example of how a small amount of money can grow into a large amount. The more you develop your financial intelligence, which takes time, the more opportunities will be offered to you. Robert's philosophy is to plant seeds in his asset column. Start small and plant seeds. Some grow, some don't. Some grow into millions with from little investments. Robert and Kim also have a stock portfolio where they have buy high risk speculative private companies. They are just about to go public. It's a risk, but the more you develop your financial intelligence, the lower the risk becomes. The smarter you are, and the better your chances of beating the odds. Some may argue that there are not any real estate bargain where they are, but Robert said they are prime opportunities. Everyone they are overlooked. Most people are not trained financially to recognize the opportunities in front of them. As you develop your financial IQ and begin to put it into practice, remember to have fun. Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but always have fun. Don't be afraid of losing, because failure is part of the process of success. There are two kinds of investors: those who buy a packed investment from a retail outlet such as a financial planner, and those who create investment. They are also known as professional investors. If you want to be second kind of investor, you must develop three main skills. First, find the opportunity that everyone else missed. Second, raise money. And the third, organize smart people and hire those with more intelligence than you. There is always risk, so you must learn to manage it rather than avoid it. Left hemisphere movement: small amounts of money can be turned into large amount with astute well-timed investments. Right hemisphere movement: Robert always encourages adult students to look at games as reflecting back to them what they know and what they need to learn. Most importantly, games reflect behavior. They are instant feedback system. Instead of the teacher lecturing you, the game is giving you a personalized lecture, and one that is custom made just for you. Subconscious moment: we all have tremendous potential, and we all are blessed with gifts. Yet the one thing that holds all of us back is some degree of self-doubt. It is not so much the lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self-confidence. What was Robert saying? Now it's time to reflect. Ask yourself, what is Robert saying in this quote, and why does he say that? In this section, you do not need to agree or disagree with Robert. The goal is to understand what Robert is saying. Remember, this curriculum is designed to be cooperative and supportive. Two minds are better than one. If you do not understand what Robert is saying, do not shy away from it. Ask for help in understanding. Take the time, discuss each quote until you understand it. Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead but the bold. As a teacher, I recognize that it was excessive fear and self doubt that were the greatest dictators of personal genius. It broke my heart to see students know the answer yet lack the courage to act on the answer. Old ideas are some people's biggest liabilities. It's a liability simply because they fail to realize that while that idea or way of doing something was an asset yesterday is gone. Rich people are often creative and take calculated risk. Why would you want to increase your financial intelligence because you want to be kind of person who creates your own luck? The single most powerful asset we all have is our mind. If it is trained well, it can create enormous wealth seemingly instantaneously. An untrained mind can also create extreme poverty that can crush a family for generations. If the opportunity is too complex and I do not understand the investment, I don't do it. Simply math and common sense are all you need to do well financially. The problem with secure investment is that they are often sanitized, that is made so safe that the gains are less. It is not gambling if you know what you are doing. It's gambling if you just throwing money into a deal and praying. Great opportunities are not seen with your eyes, they are seen with your mind. It's what you know that is your greatest wealth. It is what you do not know that is your greatest risk. Additional question. Now it's time to take the stories in this chapter along with the understanding of what Robert was saying and apply them to you and your life. Ask yourself the questions below and discuss them with your study partner. Be honest with yourself and your partner. If you do not like some of the answers you are giving, ask yourself if you are willing to change and accept the challenge to change your thoughts and mindset. First, Robert say that it is not so much lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self-confidence. What is an example in your life and someone else where self-doubt got in the way of a great opportunity? Second, some people have a lot of money but do not get ahead financially. Why is that? Third, as you have developed your financial intelligence, how has it helped you see more easily whether a deal is good? Fourth, Robert's philosophy is to plant seed inside his asset column, starting small and seeing what grows. How are you planting seeds in your asset column right now? If you are not, what could you do to be able to start? Fifth, Robert lists two kind of investors: those who buy packed investments or those who create investment. Which kind are you? Is that the kind you want to be? How far have you seen fear of failure play out in your life and how did it prevent you from taking advantage of opportunities? What can you do to conquer that fear in the future? We have completed our fifth chapter of Think and Grow Rich book. I think you